Hello everyone, my name is Hazel Avalos and I'm a student at Grand Canyon University in the College of Humanities and Social Sciences, where I'm pursuing a bachelor's degree in behavioral health science. Today, I will be discussing ethical decision making in behavioral health practice using case study number 2 from my Ethics of Behavioral Health Science course, instructed by Larissa Semensky. This presentation will focus on how a case manager applies core ethical principles when working with a client who has abused their child. I will also address personal conflict, ethical priorities, and how a Christian worldview influences decision making. To begin, I will first provide an overview of the case scenario. A client I have developed a relationship with has recently abused her son. She is under significant stress, including financial struggles and a lack of support from her ex-husband. Despite this, she's generally a caring mother. This creates an ethical dilemma between supporting the client and ensuring the safety of the child. According to Fisher, ethical decision making becomes especially important in situations where competing responsibilities exist. With this context in mind, it is important to review the core ethical principles that guide professional practice. Behavioral health professionals rely on 5 key ethical principles, which are autonomy, beneficence, non-maleficence, justice, and integrity. These principles guide decision making and professional conduct. Fisher and Raymer emphasize that these principles often overlap and may conflict, requiring careful judgment in complex cases like this one. In the next slide, I will explain how autonomy and beneficence apply in this situation. Autonomy involves respecting the client's right to make decisions about her life. However, this principle has limits when safety is at risk. Beneficence requires me to act in the best interest of both the client and her child. This includes connecting the client with parenting, resources, counseling, financial support services. As noted by Banks, ethical practice requires balancing respect for clients with proactive support. Building on this, we must also consider the principles of non-maleficence and justice. Non-maleficence means avoiding harm, which is critical in this case. I have a legal and ethical duty to report child abuse to protect the child from further harm. Justice requires that both the client and the child are treated fairly. According to Reamer, professionals must avoid letting personal feelings influence decisions and must uphold fairness and accountability. In addition to these principles, fidelity and honesty also play a crucial role. Fidelity involves maintaining trust in the professional relationship. However, this does not mean keeping harmful secrets. Honesty requires me to clearly explain the limits of confidentiality, including mandatory reporting. Fisher emphasizes that transparency strengthens ethical practice, even when it may be temporarily damage report. Even with these principles in mind, there are still ethical risks that must be addressed. One of the biggest risks in this case is becoming emotionally biased because I like the client. This could lead to minimizing the abuse or avoiding reporting it. Reamer warns that ethical violations often occur when professionals allow personal feelings to override professional responsibilities. The most critical principle to safeguard here are non-maleficence, justice, and honesty. Given these risks, it is important to consider how to manage personal conflict effectively. To manage personal conflict, I must first acknowledge my emotional reaction to the situation. Seeking supervision or consultation helps ensuring objectivity. Following established ethical guidelines and engaging in self-reflection are also essential. Banks highlights that ethical competence includes awareness of personal bias and a commitment to accountability. Another important perspective to consider is how a Christian worldview would guide ethical decision making. From a Christian worldview, the situation called for compassion, forgiveness, and a care for the vulnerable. The child must be protected, while the client should be supported and given opportunities for growth and change. This perspective emphasizes both grace and accountability, aligning with ethical principles such as beneficence and justice. Finally, I will explain why safeguarding these ethical principles is so important in this case. Safeguarding ethical principles is essential to protect the well-being of both the child and the client. It also ensures that I maintain professional integrity and comply with legal requirements. Ethical decision-making builds trust in the behavioral health profession, and it ensures responsible care in complex situations. That being said, this concludes my presentation, and thank you so much for your time and your attention. I wasn't really sure if I should say something here, but these are the references used to support the ethical principles and analysis presented in this presentation. All sources are formatted to my best ability following the APA guidelines. Thank you so much, and I'll see you later.